Well, investors, of course, are looking ahead to Jackson Hole, Wyoming for hints on the Federal Reserve's next rate hike as the central bank kicks off its summer economic symposium. But will Jay Powell's calls from last year's speech mix up the message this year? Maybe cast a little bit of doubt on it. Yahoo Finance's Brian Cheung has the latest for us. He's not yet wearing his hat,
too early.
his Jackson Hole hat, but he will be, yes. So, there has been, obviously, credibility has long been an issue up for debate when it comes to the Fed. And last year's Jackson Hole speech is kind of a prime example of why.
And what did we hear in last year's Jackson Hole speech? The T word, transitory, right? Inflation was going to be transitory. If you looked at CPI at the time, the Fed was saying, well, look, a lot of this is due to energy pressures. A lot of this is due to the base effects of the way you calculate year-over-year inflation. Numbers should go back down. Well, it didn't, right? And one interesting thing about his speech was that, and I want to read this, he said, quote, "It seems unlikely that durables inflation will continue to contribute importantly over time to overall inflation." If you take a look at what inflation did at the time, if you look at CPI, which specifically durables inflation, was about 14% year over year as of August 2021. It continued to go up, by the way. Look at this chart. Actually, that dip that you kind of saw, that little head fake around the summer, was around the Jackson Hole speech. And then what happened? It went all the way up to about 19% in the 6 months afterwards. So that didn't age well. And, one reason for that perhaps could have been just the stickiness of the supply chain issues related to the COVID shutdown in China. And by the way, a lot of that preceded also the Russia-Ukraine conflict as well. But look, you have the likes of former New York Fed President Bill Dudley writing an op-ed in Bloomberg a few days ago saying that it's going to be a tough crowd at Jackson Hole because of the fact that he made a call simply last year that just didn't age well. Now, the caveat is that he did make later on in the speech a comment that said, quote, "History also teaches, however, that central banks cannot take for granted that inflation due to transitory factors will fade." Maybe that's where he picks up the conversation in 2022. The caveat that the Fed has always said they're going to be data dependent, especially in this environment where the Fed is not going to tell you exactly where they're going to stop rate hikes. They're only going to tell you they're going to continue to raise interest rates until this chart gets closer to 2%.
Brian, I recall, the market rallied after we heard from Powell last time on this thought there might be a pause in rate hikes. Do you think we'll hear that again?
Well, I think that this is exactly what the Fed's challenge is for this specific week, because the following weeks from the July meeting where essentially the Fed said we're going to continue to raise interest rates, by the way, and they wouldn't hesitate to, if they needed to, raise interest rates by as large as they have in the last two meetings. But what happened? Stock market rallied, and then bond markets actually saw yields decline. Why is that happening? Why are financial conditions loosening when the Fed says the mission is not yet done? So that's something that kind of has underpinned the market expectation that the Fed is going to be very hawkish in not only Jay Powell's speech on Friday morning, but also in the other Fed commentary that we're expected to hear from the various Fed presidents going on media. I've got a few tricks up my sleeve for that as well. But look, at the end of the day, they're all expecting to essentially sing in unison this message to markets that we are not done yet. And I think that the sell-off that we saw yesterday is the beginning of market repricing to acknowledge that the Fed is getting it in their heads. They're going to continue to raise interest rates. The beatings will continue until the markets get.
Ryan, what do you do for fun at these events? A little fly fishing?
Well, the things end usually around 2 p.m. Mountain Time.
You said hiking.
You can do a lot of hiking with the rest of the day. So, a little bit of hawk spotting in the morning, and then a little bit of actual hawk spotting in the afternoon. You see what I did there?
I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
You can follow him on Insta to see all his photos,
I'll be
hiking
posting.
photos.
I'll be posting live.
And on that note, we need some articles from you, bro. Brian Cheung, thanks so much.